let's see, it's Tuesday morning. We call it Taco Tuesday in our house, and I'm on my way to work. So let's get the party started. The one great thing about driving to work is we get to drive a fun car. I love driving my Camaro, not because it's a regular Camaro, and I know it's called a 1LE, but it kind of means something, you know. And the irony is that yesterday I was just talking to a buddy about doing a hill climb in, I guess it's southern Kentucky. So that should be interesting. I've never done one of those before. I mean, we do hill climbs all the time, right? Kentucky, we got some hills and drive kind of quick. So I guess that kind of counts. But so we'll see if the wife allows it, given all the kids' soccer and baseball and running and whatever else they're doing. And, I think it's right before or right after spring break, or maybe after a lead team meeting or whatever else is going on. So there's always something, but it should be interesting. But I've been thinking about it a lot because, my license plate says Stig, so I should be on a racetrack, right? Isn't that what the Stig does? Or is that not really a racetrack? It's just, part of Top Gear. Is Top Gear even still a thing? Is the show still on? I don't know. I feel like when it's not the trio with Jeremy Clarkson and the other two guys, I can't remember their names at the moment. I feel like does it even count anymore? Just kidding. I know all the other guys. They matter too. I'm just teasing. But I will say Jeremy Clarkson kind of added something that I think some of the others struggle to captivate from time to time. Although, I don't know why, but I kind of like that guy from Friends. I think he was unexpected. Maybe that's the best word, because I never thought someone from the TV show Friends would be so cool with cars. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, this past Sunday, a couple days ago, was the Super Bowl, if I'm allowed to even say that. I know there's like certain rules around using that term, the big game, right? So, irony, this Jeep Grand Cherokee just took off, kind of. Obviously, I'm not. It has no taillights on. Dude, put your lights on, bro. So, but yeah, the Super Bowl. And here's what I find interesting. There's some great commercials, right? I thought the Nerds one was pretty unique. Can we let this tractor trailer in? Flash my lights. Do I get the blinkers? Give me the flashies. Nothing? That's messed up. So, yeah, so there was Super Bowl, some cool commercials. The game was interesting. I didn't have any skin in this game, as a Giants fan-ish. I'm supposed to not like the Patriots, but, I have to give them some credit over the years with that Tom Brady guy. And, the Seahawks were cool. I like watching Seahawks games when it's in their stadium with, what do they call it, the 12th man. But ultimately, the Super Bowl was pretty cool. And the thing that I found interesting was there was some good commercials. That Nerds commercial was super weird, man. I like to eat Nerds, but I don't know, there's something really weird about, like, Nerds characters jumping around and doing weird things. So I was kind of creeped out by that. The Lay's commercial was pretty good. I thought that was cool, talking about, the workers and the farmers, even if Cape Cod dark russet chips are even better. So we'll go with that. But man, the halftime, why do people get so worked up about it, man? Like, almost 20% of our population in the U.S. speak Spanish. A lot of people come from Spanish-speaking countries. And what's awesome is that we can all have an opinion, right? So I think it's great. The halftime show, it was entertaining. Didn't really know a word, but that's okay. I went to France. I didn't speak French. But, they play American music too, in English. So, and they play French music and Spanish music. But yeah, I thought it was cool. Talked about Puerto Rico and some of the challenges they had. At first, I didn't understand the sugar cane. I thought they were just tall grass, but I guess it's sugar cane. I love Caribbean sugar, and Puerto Rico is considered part of the Caribbean. I don't even know. But I love sugar from that region. It's different than the sugar here. And but anyway, so I did a little digging, and by digging I mean scrolling through, those like quick little clips, and I thought it was pretty fascinating and really cool what they did, and kind of all the things they did had a significance. So, the music, the electric poles, I guess it has to do with some of the challenges they've had, and not getting the support they needed after the hurricane, and before 2018 or maybe 2017. I remember that. And Puerto Rico's a great country, or territory rather. It's part of our country, as far as I know. But man, I'm not like super connected to that stuff. But it makes me think I should probably understand these things a little more. Especially having some heritage from other parts of the world. So from Czechoslovakia and Poland and Russia or wherever else my family's from, it kind of all matters. And as I learned about these things, especially from my dad doing a lot of research over the years, and it's interesting kind of where our heritage comes from and how it all comes to this melting pot. And what was really cool was yesterday, Dylan comes over to me. Jake's at soccer with Christy, with her mom, and my wife. And Dylan comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, Dad, I hear people talking about the halftime show and how bad it was." And he's like, "But I don't get it. We're a big melting pot. What's the big deal? We're from New York, or Dad, you're from New York. And to be fair, I'm from the suburbs, but my parents are from New York City and my grandparents. And, when they came over here from other countries. And it was fascinating that Dylan said that New York is like a melting pot. And I love it. I didn't tell him that. He just kind of came up with it on his own. And I love it. It just made me so proud because we are a big melting pot. Every day, I see people from all different cultures, and I live in freaking northern Kentucky. Yeah, so all you people from back home in New York who haven't been here, it's not much different. Sure, things could be a little slower here, right? And maybe people can be a little bit more talkative, although the last few times I've been to New York, people are pretty chatty, so, that stereotype may be long gone at this point. But yeah, it's like people from all different parts of the world. So we have some big companies here like GE and Procter & Gamble and some others. I apologize for not remembering. But yeah, it just kind of hit me pretty good when Dylan said that. And I'm proud of him for recognizing that and thinking about it. And, we go on these road trips and we encounter all different types of people. Here's what was interesting too, is when we went to Bonneville, to the Salt Flats, and when you get off the exit, off whatever highway it is, there's a gas station right there, and it's got a little bit of memorabilia. Hey, here's a good marketing opportunity. There's no major Bonneville Salt Flat like gift shop and like historical center in the middle of nowhere, Utah, near the Nevada border. I'm sure there's not a lot of traffic there either, but man, what a cool place it would be if you could do that. So someone, maybe business idea, maybe not, but maybe it's a write-off. I highly recommend it. But when we got there, it was really interesting. Again, we're in the middle of freaking Nevada and Utah. And what culture was there? It was all Indian people, like not American Indian, but what seemingly were people from India. Okay, to be fair, I didn't go and ask them, "Hey bro, you from India?" But let's just say their dialect, their appearance, and some of the cultural characteristics they had appeared to me to be from India. So I apologize if you were from other areas or happened to just be from the US, third generation or something like me. Okay, so seriously, don't hold it against me. But Dylan kind of made a comment, not a negative comment. He's like, "Man," he's like, "this is different." And it was just, and there's an Indian restaurant there too. Again, in the middle of western Utah, eastern Nevada, on the border there, Indian restaurant. I bet you it's really good. We didn't want to give it a try. It was 112 to 114 degrees Fahrenheit. It was really hot. Not sure how many bathrooms were between there and just getting back to Salt Lake City. And then, of course, we went to Mount Rushmore. But we decided to forego trying what may have been the best Indian cuisine around. And I do know it's Indian because it said Indian cuisine. And it had some very specific dishes that tend to be more traditional for Indian cuisine. So just thought that was interesting. But just going back to that melting pot, I thought that was fascinating. I'm really proud of Dylan. And, he's kind of like my little sidekick. We go to all these different car events and, he likes cars. I think Jake likes them more. Jake's telling me he wants a Mark IV Supra or an F40. So proud of him for liking correct vehicles. But Dylan, he says he wants a GT3 RS or he wants to ride in a Tesla Model S Plaid. Martin, I don't know if you're listening, come pick him up one day and do launch control if you're up for it, or ludicrous or whatever it's called. But in the end, Dylan kind of hangs around and he does all right. He kind of puts a smile on, or tries to. And then maybe at the end of the day, I got to bribe him with a couple packs of baseball cards. So I just appreciate that he's willing to do that. And I think he does it not so much for the cars. He likes the people. Amazing. That's like 70% of what the whole car thing is about, is just about the people. The cars are almost secondary. But Dylan just likes to go for the drive. He enjoys it. He's like, Dad, I know that Rabbit Hash is like 15 minutes from the house, but maybe we can go to Rabbit Hash, from our house in northern Kentucky. Maybe we can go through Dayton, Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana, maybe Louisville, Lexington, maybe hit the tip of West Virginia, come back across Kentucky and hit Rabbit Hash. That's his idea of a Rabbit Hash drive. So he definitely has my DNA when it comes to that. So, but, I'm always interested to know, like, what other people like to do. What do you like to do? Where do you like to go? What are your favorite drives? Because I know one of my neighbors, for example, he's got an '03 Cobra convertible. So for those of you who are car guys and ladies, '03 Cobra and convertible, they used to be called the Terminator. I don't know where it got that name, but what was really cool when they came out is it was the year after the Camaro and Firebird had been discontinued. So '02 was the last year of those cars, and the V8 models ranged from, I believe it was 285 horsepower, the regular LS1, SS, Formula, Trans Am, all that stuff, and then up to, I believe it was 335 horsepower if you have the optional exhaust on the SS and the WS6 and the Firehawk. So, back then, not bad, right? But the next year, Ford launched an updated Cobra, again nicknamed the Terminator, and it was supercharged at 390 horsepower. So what was cool about those cars were, even stock, they make some cool sounds, the exhaust and the supercharger whine. This is before Dodge launched the Challenger back again, and even the thought of a Hellcat was even around. But, they can make some really good power. And so anyway, this neighbor of mine, I'm like, hey dude, we both do business with Kroger. I work with over 100 brands at Kroger, and he works on a brand across multiple retailers, including Kroger. And one of the flagship stores is right by our house. I'm like, dude, grab your car, let's go. We'll go grab a cup of coffee at this coffee shop called Black Goose. Let's drive over to Kroger. And he's like, no, man. He's like, I'm going to go for a drive. So it's interesting to me, because all I care about is, I don't care if I'm going to Kroger, if I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts or Black Goose, or if I'm going to Daytona. I always want to be in this car. I want to be able to shift, right? I want to be able to feel like I'm a part of the car and enjoy my drive. So for him, though, it's interesting because he's like, no, if it's not more than, a few minutes, it's not worth it. So I do find that fascinating, and how people think about what their preference is for driving. For example, last week we had a little bit of snow again, and my car is equipped with snow tires, although the rears are getting a little tired. And I get excited when it snows. I want to get out and I want to drive my car. Yes, my track-oriented Camaro SS1LE, I want to drive it in the snow. Because why? Because it's fun. Because people don't do it. Maybe it's less about enjoying the drive, although it has a lot to do with that, and more about being like that guy that says, you know what, you're not doing it, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to defy what the normal Camaro, Corvette, Porsche, Civic Type R driver is going to do, and I'm going to drive my car through the salt and the snow. And if anyone's listening, my car's really dirty, come wash it. But I think it's cool, and people are like, dude, you're crazy for driving that car in the snow. Now, the irony is that last week, I drove my car, I met a buddy, Kevin, for a cup of coffee at Carabello Coffee in Newport. It was awesome. And we chatted about all different things, about work, about technology, about cars, about memorabilia, life, all these different things that are going on in motorsports. And But when I left, there was a Kroger that had just opened up the week prior. So, of course, I do my due diligence. I go to the new Kroger, take my photos of the pogs that are interesting to us, and pog is a planogram or a shelf set. And when I leave there, I'm driving nice and slow, believe it or not, like I am now. I'm not going fast at all. Drive through Newport to get back to our office in Anderson. So what do? Driving down these narrow roads, they're covered on either side with snow. I even let a truck who was struggling to back into the courthouse, give him some space and let him do that. And as I'm driving to make a right turn on a one-way street, I just, maybe 12 miles an hour at most, jam right into the curb. The car bounces and everything, F-bomb and all, and I was so pissed. But I was like, you know what it is? The car still drove mostly straight, not entirely. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at my tire pressures. They're not going down, so that's good. I still have all my tires intact. But I felt like maybe I bent a rim, a control arm, pull over, and the rim's all scuffed up, which is fine. These winter wheels are all a mess anyway, and they're messed up from all the track pads. But so it's okay. So I drive it to work. When I get to work, we have a parking garage, and because I got there later in the day, it's full. And so we have a rooftop on the parking garage, and I'm like, all right, it's covered in snow, so what am I going to do? Of course, I'm going to drive out into the middle of it, do a half a donut, 180 in the snow, and just pull back out and go back to the basement of the garage. Well, I didn't realize that it was so cold and deep that the snow had frozen. So as I pull onto the snow, the car just stops. It gets totally stuck. I'm like a beached whale in the snow. So I end up getting stuck. I got a couple calls, so I go into the building, come back out a few minutes later, and I get on my hands and knees in the frozen, snow. It's like 12 degrees, and I start digging it out from under the car, and I get the car out. So, in the end, you need to realize that this guy in a Maxima just went right where this tractor trailer truck already indicated he was going. Come on, people, let the trucks go, dude. So the moral of the story is, I wasn't even doing things silly. I didn't even drift through Newport and bang into a curb. Sure, I went onto the roof of the parking garage when it was covered in snow, but it's not something I hadn't done before, and I ended up getting stuck. So huge shout out to Performance Alignment. Thankfully, it had snowed so much that people are not driving their cars, their fun cars, and Performance Alignment fit me in. Checked my car. I had a bent different wheel, so thankfully I had an extra one in the car like I do now behind me. And the guy next to me, of course, is not passing in the left lane. Go! The guy behind you is pissed off. Can you tell? So they got me in and swapped my wheel, my tires to the non-bent wheel, front wheel, and replaced the control arm, a couple bolts, and I'm back on the road. So appreciate that. If you guys aren't familiar with Performance Alignment, these guys are rock stars. The shop is huge, lots of space, lots of awesome cars in there. So if you're allowed in the back to take a peek, there's always something cool, some ZR1s, maybe a couple Porsches, Audi RSs, people with tons of knowledge, but don't waste their time. They got jobs to do, like work on my car. Actually, I got more important projects than my car to work on. They just recently got a Ford Performance Racing Mustang from one of the performance driving schools back there. Some old stuff from the teens, 20s, 30s, just a little bit of everything. And just really appreciate them. They become like a little family, I feel like. And they just got a lot of talent there. And, Danny Pop, who I feel like whatever he gets behind the wheel of, he wins. So listening, Danny. So if you ever want to do one lap, let's win. I don't know if my car's fast enough. And then of course you have Bill. He's been racing, or been part of racing rather, forever. And I just appreciate those guys. So I can do this. So I can get in the car and drive. But so I think the next thing is going to be maybe this. I think it's Pineville, Kentucky, hill climb with the SCCA. So if you've ever done one, I need to know about it, because I just I need to be able to drive there, do the thing, and then drive home, and then drive the kids to soccer and baseball and school or whatever we're doing and work. And then I think a track day in July will occur this year with the SCCA at Mid-Ohio. Super inexpensive for a track day, so that should be fun. And I think my buddy Michael Kelly, who is like one of the nicest guys around, he's a part of the Ferrari Club. and probably some other car clubs too, I think BMW. And he's just always been so generous with us. Back when the kids were, 3 or 4 years old, we were at their house, and he's got this open cockpit race car that raced at the 24 Hours of Daytona and other races within, I don't know what it's called then. It wasn't IMSA, it was something else. And he let them sit in the car in his house, in his downstairs garage, and it's just so cool. It's super influential when you're talking to somebody and they have so much knowledge and history, and they're willing to share that with you, whether it's over a glass of bourbon, a glass of water, or a cup of coffee. It's just a delight and a treat to hear all that history and those stories. Or that recently they shared that they had nearly 300,000 miles on a Bug-Eye WRX with the original motor and transmission. How cool is that? And a very interesting Aston Martin, a manual Aston Martin, I think it's a Vantage, that the original owner had sent out to get like $50,000 worth of upgrades. So like exhaust and intake and tuning and some cosmetic stuff. So it's really unique and fascinating. And he had just gotten a Blackwing, a Cadillac Blackwing manual, and was going to sell the Aston and realized, man, this thing is super freaking cool. So he kept it. So he's going to be 007 on one side and, that American muscle of a Cadillac on the other side. So, yeah, just kind of all these cool things going on. But this car's ready for a tune-up. So, Danny, I'm going to bring it up to you here in a few weeks. It's almost due for an oil change. It'll have about 130,000 miles. And let's get this thing ready for a hill climb in a little over a month.